Welcome to Movie Story, where we bring your favorite films to life with thrilling recaps and deep dives.
The movie begins with a scene showing how an incident wipes out most of the population and destroys all resources. After the disaster, people turn to eating the dead just to survive, and slowly, things go from bad to worse. 10 years later, humans have become cannibals, hunting and eating each other to stay alive. Amid all this, a father takes his son, Jake, out hunting. Unlike others, they still hold on to their humanity, choosing to hunt animals instead of people. During their hunt, the father spots a wild boar, takes aim, and shoots it with an arrow. The boar runs off, wounded, and the two follow its blood trail. But the animal escapes into an area where it's impossible to track, leaving them disappointed. As they head back, they spot a little girl's muddy shoes lying near an abandoned car. Curious, Jake and his father decide to search the car. Inside, Jake finds a packet of biscuits and starts eating them without telling his dad. Suddenly, they hear noises outside. The father rushes into the car, and together, they watch a pack of wild dogs pass by. Luckily, the dogs don't notice them hiding inside. After the danger passes, they return to their shelter, a place that barely looks like a home, covered with heavy wooden planks to keep wild animals out. Inside, a sick girl named Hannah lies on a bed, her stomach wound badly infected. The next morning, Jake steps outside to freshen up when he hears someone approaching. He races back to warn his father, who wakes up to the noise. They see strangers moving toward their shelter. Without wasting time, they grab essentials like Hannah's medicine, stuff them into a bag, and escape through the back door. Hannah can't walk, so the father hides Jake and her in a sewage gutter, then confronts the attackers alone. But the hunters are ruthless, and he's quickly overpowered and killed. Jake and Hannah watch helplessly as the hunters hang his father's body like slaughtered prey and take the medicine bag. After the hunters leave, Jake notices a cookie wrapper on the ground, the same one from the car. He realizes the whole thing was a trap. Guilt crashes over him. If he had told his dad about the cookies, maybe they would have avoided this. Now his family is shattered. He takes Hannah back to their shelter, only to find it wrecked. Hannah's infection has worsened from hiding in the gutter, and she collapses with a high fever. Jake knows she'll die without medicine, now in the hunter's hands. Determined, he leaves supplies and water by her bed, boards up the shelter to keep animals out, and sets off in just a t-shirt and shorts, the only clothes he has left, to track the hunters. He ties rags around his feet for warmth, praying Hannah stays safe and doesn't try to follow. Jake tries to follow his father's blood trail to track down the hunters, but the freezing cold wind outside is so harsh that he gives up. He curls up on the ground, shivering. Suddenly, he spots a small boy nearby who lives in a warehouse with his grandpa. Seeing the boy feels like a flicker of hope, so Jake starts chasing him. But the boy panics when he notices Jake following him, runs back inside, slams the door shut, and hides with his grandpa. Jake follows him to the warehouse and tries to open the door. After struggling for a while, he finally kicks it open, breaking it down. The grandpa and the boy are terrified, thinking Jake is a hunter. But Jake just needs warm clothes to survive the cold. He walks in, grabs a pair of pants lying around, and tries to snatch the grandpa's jacket. The boy tries to stop him, but Jake shoves him aside, takes the jacket, and even steals a pair of shoes before leaving. Back outside, Jake starts following his father's blood trail again, but it leads to a dead end. The hunters had already cooked and eaten his father. Jake finds his dad's bones scattered there, which makes him vomit and break down crying. He collects the bones and buries them in the ground. With no clues left to track the hunters, Jake decides to take revenge. He climbs a tree to spot their hideout and sees smoke rising in the distance, coming from the hunters' camp. Suddenly, Jake slips and falls. The noise attracts wild dogs, who start closing in on him. He tries to run but can barely stand, so he crawls to the spot where his father was burned. Using the last embers left in the ashes, he lights a fire. Just as the dogs approach, the flames scare them off, saving Jake's life. By morning, Jake moves forward and spots a tent. To check if anyone's inside, he throws a stone at it. When no one responds, he cautiously enters. The sight shocks him. 2 dried-up skeletons lie there, likely dead from hunger and thirst. He finds their leftover supplies, an empty water bottle, a matchbox with a few sticks left, a knife, and a whistle. Jake takes everything and leaves. Outside, he sees the same boy again, probably out searching for food. The boy runs away in fear. Jake then heads to the hunter's camp but finds it empty. They're out hunting. Only the hunter's wife is there. Jake sneaks up behind her with a large rock. The hunters had set up a rope with bells around their camp to alert them of intruders, but Jake carefully avoids tripping it. Inside, Jake searches through bags but can't find Hannah's medicine. Suddenly, the huntress sneaks up behind him with an axe. Jake spots her in a mirror and fights back, but she overpowers him. In desperation, he smashes a rock into her head, killing her instantly. Frantically, he cleans up the blood and hides her body, worried the hunters will return. While doing this, he finds a water bottle and keeps it. He hasn't had a drink in days. Still searching for the medicine, Jake hears the hunters returning. He knows if they find the huntress's body, he'll be in even bigger trouble, and Hannah will never get her medicine. Panicking, he keeps looking, but time is running out. Jake hides behind a tree with the dead body. Meanwhile, his axe falls to the ground nearby. From behind the tree, he watches as the hunters return, with the same little boy he'd seen earlier, now captured and about to be cooked. But Jake doesn't care about the boy. He barely knows him. All he wants is Hannah's medicine, which one of the hunters, a straggler, is now using for his own infected wound. The straggler tosses the medicine into an outdoor crate. Their leader walks toward the tree, but Jake stays perfectly quiet and hidden, avoiding detection. Suddenly, the hunter's lieutenant finds Jake's axe, and the group spreads out, realizing someone's nearby. While they search, Jake seizes his chance. He covers the body with dry leaves, crawls toward the crate, and passes a donkey cart filled with human bones. By then, only the straggler remains outside, and he soon goes inside. Jake sneaks over to free the tied-up boy, but the kid screams in fear, alerting the straggler. By the time the straggler rushes out, the boy escapes, and Jake slips away unnoticed. Jake reaches the crate, but it's locked. He can't break it open or carry it. He's just a kid. Hearing the hunters return, he hides under a trailer. The hunters rage over the boy's escape and blame the straggler. In his fury, the leader kills the straggler. He then notices dirt on the crate's lock, realizing it's been tampered with. To make things worse, the hunters find the huntress's body. Jake worries they'll eat her, but instead, they perform funeral rites. During this, Jake spots the crate's key hanging around the leader's neck. The hunters go inside after burning the huntress's body, but the leader stays behind, boiling with anger. Meanwhile, Hannah's condition worsens. The water Jake left her is gone, and survival feels impossible. At dawn, Jake crawls into the trailer, lights a match from the tent supplies, and spots the leader. Using his knife, he carefully cuts the key from the leader's neck. He unlocks the crate, finding preserved food, and finally grabs the medicine. He locks the crate again to buy time but forgets about the bell alarm. As he runs, his foot hits the rope, ringing the bells and waking the hunters. They chase him, but the leader limps behind. Jake barely escapes, stumbling back to the warehouse where the boy and his grandpa lived, only to find the boy missing and the grandpa eaten by wild dogs. Guilt washes over Jake. If he hadn't broken into the warehouse, the dogs might have never gotten in. As he moves on, the hunters catch up. One swings an axe at Jake's head, knocking him out. When he wakes, they're preparing to cook him. Spotting a knife nearby, Jake tries to reach it, but the leader kicks it away and burns Jake's father's photo. Desperate, Jake grabs the knife, blows the whistle, and attracts a pack of wild dogs, his last hope for survival. Seeing the dogs, the hunters ditch Jake and bolt to save their own skins. Meanwhile, Jake manages to cut the rope binding his hands with the knife and quickly hides to avoid the dogs. On the other side, a hunter named Lover can't run fast because of an injured leg. The leader, who also has trouble walking, intentionally injures Lover's leg further, leaving him for the dogs to eat while he escapes. Now, only 3 hunters remain in their group: the leader, the lieutenant, and Charger. They return to where they left Jake, but he's already gone. The lieutenant spots bloodstains and follows them straight to Jake. But this is all part of Jake's trap. A fight breaks out between them, and Jake stabs the lieutenant to death. He then swaps his jacket with the lieutenant's to trick Charger, who falls for it. and Jake kills him too. Jake puts on Charger's clothes to blend in, grabs his bow and arrow, and takes aim at the leader. His first shot misses, sparking a brutal fight between them. Just then, the wild dogs return. Jake escapes, but the leader becomes their prey. Jake runs until he reaches a mountain, where he finds a cottage. Outside, a man's body hangs from a noose. A suicide. Inside, Jake spots a revolver. He drinks some water from a supply there, fills a bottle, and starts gathering food. Then, suddenly, the leader appears. But how? Didn't the dogs kill him? Turns out, the leader had outsmarted them. Jake points the revolver at him but realizes it's empty. They wrestle, and the leader gains the upper hand, until Jake grabs the leader's own gun and shoots him dead. Exhausted, Jake races back to his shelter. His heart stops when he finds the gate open and Hannah missing. Thinking the worst, he sits down and breaks into tears, until Hannah quietly places a hand on his shoulder.
If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Movie Story for more amazing movie recaps. Let us know in the comments which movie you'd like us to cover next. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.